want to get started on sharing with you guys an important teaching that I have in store for you on winter bee biology, keeping your hive alive in the wintertime. Now, 3 things I always promote about keeping your bees in good shape in the wintertime is a good queen. Not much you can do about it if you have a bad queen now, is it? If you're like me and you're in a cold climate, you can't swap queens out in the wintertime. So you're stuck with what you got, which is kind of bad because you need a little bit of brood to keep her. She needs to keep laying. So you're just stuck with her. But that's what you need. That's something we try to take care of in the fall. For those of you that are new, you haven't had bees yet, and I know you're watching to get up to speed for next year, you got to be able to get that queen. If you don't have a good queen in the summer or late summer, you got to replace your queen. So you go into winter with a really good queen, and then you need plenty of resources in the hive. Ideally, it's their own resources. I always promote that. I always say you got to have good honey stores, good protein, like pollen stored in there. And a lot of people think, I shouldn't say that. I think one person left a comment on my most recent YouTube video that I was just trying to promote my winter bee kinds, trying to sell them. No, that's not true at all. We don't need to sell our winter bee kinds at all. I do appreciate when people buy them, but they sell out. They sell so fast. But if I don't mention where they can get them, then they hound me about, you didn't leave a link where I can buy one. So anyway, we don't ever say that our winter bee kinds are supposed to be the only thing that your bees are eating during the wintertime. I believe that your bees should have their own stores, their own honey stores, their own pollen in there, protein. But it's an insurance plan because we know how things just aren't the way they used to be. A lot of bees go into winter with not enough food. So the winter bee kind boards help them. So you got to have plenty of resources on there. And of course, low mites, because that means low viruses. Yeah. But biology of a winter colony. I love talking about the cluster. Now, bees will cluster. That means bees do not hibernate. They cluster when the temperature drops below 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius. If it drops below that, they will form a tight cluster. You can see it in the picture here. This is actually one of my hives before I was feeding them my winter bee kinds. And this is what they typically look like. That's how small the cluster is on a very, very cold day. The colder it is, the smaller the cluster is. And so keep in mind, this is biology class. One honeybee by herself or himself, if he's a drone, they are cold-blooded. Cold-blooded means they have no way to heat themselves up. Like we're warm-blooded as humans. So we can warm up ourselves. Our bodies are 98.6 degrees. And so we can generate our own heat. Bees can't do that. Now, bees do become warm-blooded as a cluster in the wintertime. In other words, when they all get together, stay really tight and close to each other, they can create body heat by using their muscle and making heat. So that's how they survive winter, is by forming that cluster. The biology of a winter cluster, though, to survive the cold weather, the bee cluster has to stay warm or they'll die. That's why they all get together. So the cluster is near surrounding honey. So in other words, they move as a cluster a little bit to get closer to your frames of honey. Here's the deal that's bad. And I've experienced this over the last 20 plus years that I've been keeping bees. I think it'll be 30 years this year. But they'll eat as a cluster. You know, they form a kind of a ball cluster between the frames. They will consume over several day period of cold weather. They'll consume all of that nectar or honey that they are near to stay warm. They need to eat the carbohydrates and the protein to stay warm, and they'll consume it. And guess what? They'll run out. Here's a picture that I took years ago of one of my hives that died in the wintertime. And look at that. Not a drop of resources near that frame of clustered bees. They're dead. And you can see a little brood. The queen will lay a little brood. If you don't feed them, they don't have enough food, she'll keep trying to lay and they'll keep trying to take care of it. So what happened here was there was no food around where the cluster was. There was some several frames over. But the cluster wasn't able to move that direction. And so they had to stay bald because of my excessively cold weather. They couldn't move because it was too cold to break cluster. So they just died by starving out. So when they consume that honey, they starve. And here's an example. Here is a telltale sign of winter starvation, especially for those of you brand new. A lot of you experienced beekeepers have seen this before. This is a winter cluster that died, and you can see their abdomen sticking out of the cells. In other words, they are head first in the cell. They're head first for two reasons. Number one, they could be heater bees. So they push their head into a cell and they just rev up that muscle and make a lot of heat. Or it could be they're sticking their head in there and they're trying to get the last drop of food off the back of that cell. But nonetheless, this cluster died in the wintertime several years ago. And this is what I was struggling with maybe, a decade and a half ago or more, maybe it was 20 years ago. I've lost track of time, and I just decided, okay, I've had enough bees die in the wintertime from starvation. I got to do something. This was ridiculous. I had food. I mean, I had honey in there, but it was so cold they couldn't get to it. I was like, this is wrong. So you've got to watch that. The cold hard facts about the winter cluster, the biology of this winter cluster is that, like I just said, it's difficult for this cluster to really move. Now they can, as the temperature warms up outside, they can reduce the cluster's tightness. They tighten up as a ball of bees as it gets colder. And they can get really small as it gets colder. But as it gets a little bit warmer, the cluster can kind of get wider and they can reach out to more food. But in my case, and like this week, last night, it got down to 6 or 7 degrees, maybe lower, but it was predicted to get down to 7 degrees Fahrenheit last night. That's awful cold. In fact, walking out here, it's 17 now, but walking from the house to the studio here, I didn't have anything on but this little jacket, and it hurt. Do you know what I'm talking about? I know some of you are from Canada, Alaska, and the North Pole. Hats off to you, but I'm from the South. I was born in Arkansas and raised in Tennessee. My blood, even though I've lived in Illinois a lot of years, my blood is not used to cold weather. It hurt. I mean, it was just painful. So it's difficult for bees to move when they get cold. They can't move and they will die. A bee exposed to freezing temperature by herself will die. She will be frozen. So they can't go below freezing. They die. Now, I got to ask on my YouTube channel last week. I don't think I answered it. I can't get to all my questions, but thanks for watching and asking. Somebody said, do small hive beetles die? Do they get killed off in the winter? No, they don't. Small hive beetles are just fine to overwinter with your cluster. I know that makes you upset, makes me upset. Keep that in mind. And so do varroa mites. The varroa mites overwinter just fine with your bees in the cluster. In fact, as your queen lays eggs a little bit in the wintertime, those mites will be right there getting in that brood and raising their own families in the wintertime in the winter brood. I've come out of winter before a few times with hives that were grossly infected with an infestation of the varroa destructor mite early on, like late March, coming out of winter. And the mites just were taken over in the wintertime. So yeah, our pests overwinter with our bees. So these are some cold, hard biological facts of the cluster. Let's move on. The colder it is, the tighter the cluster gets. It shrinks, and dead bees, they fall actually out of the cluster onto your bottom board. Some of you that are new to beekeeping, first year, first winter, you got to go in there and kind of clean out your bottom board. I mean, it helps your bees. Who wants a bunch of dead bees on the bottom board? So take something in there. I've used coat hangers, thin little sticks that go in there and just pull back all those dead bees. Get those out of the hive if you can on a warmer day. The bees will clean it up themselves, but help them out. And the queen is always within that cluster. So she is staying warm, laying some brood inside that cluster. And they're keeping that cluster temperature around the brood about 92 degrees. Yeah, even when it's 7 degrees or 20 below zero chill factor. Now, the cluster can consume all the food and within their own reach, and that's when they'll starve. Now, the candy board or your fondant, whatever method you're using, mountaintop method or mountain camp method, whatever method you're using, the idea situation I have found is to always have food above the cluster. So no matter where they go, you've got food that's touching the top of the cluster. The only thing that I discovered in feeding my bees, our winter bee kinds, is that once the cluster notice the winter bee kind, the whole cluster just will go up there and just devour it. They break cluster to consume all that food. It's amazing to watch. I've shown you several times last week in videos. All right, so let's keep going on bee biology in the wintertime. During the summer, I drew this little picture. I'm not an artist, although after drawing this picture, I think I might have a little bit of artist in me. It's almost legible. You can almost tell what that is. But anyway, it's a tree with a hollow middle to it. And if you look, I got honey at the top. You got some pollen right below the honey, a little strip of pollen there. And then the darker section is brood and bees. It's below the stored honey that's above them. This is a natural way that bees do their nest in a tree. And they got some empty comb below them as they move up. And the inside of that tree is lined with propolis to keep pathogens from growing and affecting the bees. Well, during the winter time, look at this. The cluster, the big brown ball, is moving up into that honey. So it didn't take long for me. Sherry says I'm a really smart, brilliant person, but I don't look at myself that way. So I was about to say I'm not a smart person, but I'm a logical thinker. And so when I saw bees that were moving up into that cluster, I thought, well, what if I put more food above them? They're moving up to eat. What if I put a candy board above them? They would move up and eat the candy board, right? And they do. So they like to move up and eat that food. And so it's just logical for me to want to feed my bees from the top in the wintertime. If they don't want it and they want to use their own honey, that's fine. But this is the typical way that the cluster behaves. Now, another aspect of bee biology, we'll get a little bit deeper for a second here, but bees have what we call fat bodies. They are not fat cells like on humans. I'm not talking about that. Fat bodies are a way, vitellogenesis. It's found in honeybees. Vitellogenin molecules are deposited in these fat bodies, and they're located in their head and their abdomen of the honeybee. And these fat bodies is a way that the bees can store these vital proteins in their reserve parts of their body, and they can use it later. And when bees of winter physiology have a lot of this vitellogenesis going on. They have a lot in storage. So again, I get challenged periodically where people say, oh, I don't believe you should feed bees in the wintertime. You shouldn't feed them protein in the wintertime. You shouldn't feed them anything in the wintertime. Well, look, bees have to eat in the wintertime, and they do. It's contrary to what we say, because we always say here in Illinois, you got to have 70 pounds of honey in a winter colony or they'll die. So they're consuming 70 pounds of honey all year long, right? And they're consuming bee bread and stored pollen. They've stored for winter, people. They eat. Don't think that bees are sleeping in there. They have to eat. They're using their muscles to generate heat. Muscles take a lot of carbohydrates and protein to function. And so that's what bees are doing. We're feeding them only to assist what they do naturally, all right? So this vitellogenin, these molecules, allows the bees to store this protein in their bodies. And younger bees, by the way, have a lot more fat bodies than the older bees. And so that's why I'm always harping and telling you, raise bees in the fall, because these will be the younger bees, winter physiology bees, that will have more already stored protein in their bodies. Yeah, there's nothing new. This concept, I didn't create this. I learned this. It's been around forever. All right. So not only do we want protein in the comb as pollen, but but we need it to be, it's stored in their bodies as well. So they have two sources of this protein in their bodies through vitellogenesis, and in the comb through pollen and bee bread. So low levels are often of vitellogenesis found in foragers, which is ironic. It makes sense to logical thinking here. Foragers don't live long. On day 23, the bees go out and start flying and foraging, and they only forage, what is that, about 14 days after that, a week or two, and then they age out. So they don't need to live long. They don't have a need to store these proteins in their fat bodies because they're getting ready to die. But it not only does this vitellogenesis act as a storage of reservoir of protein, but as an antioxidant suppressing oxidative stress damage. So it's actually helping the bees to live longer in the wintertime. That's why it's so important to have these bees of winter physiology. It's awesome. So proper nutrition then is another biological thing that we need to talk about with bees. They need to have nutrition in the hive. And history here in Illinois tells us that bees need to have 70 pounds of honey on board for the wintertime. And I'll be honest with you, my bees always go into winter with 70 pounds on. But to be honest with you, sometimes they consume that before the first day of winter. They're just busy eating it, and so they can just devour it. And the protein, again, is so helpful if bees have a way to have protein. Now, I also want to say, I've heard people ask, I think somebody asked on my live stream last week, they mentioned, warning, can I inspect my hive? And I didn't really know where they lived. I think it was on my live stream, but I want to issue a warning. Never inspect your bees. Like, don't lift any frames out of the hive that have brood on them if the temperatures are 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 degrees Celsius. If it's 65 or 18 lower than that, don't lift the frame out. It can kill the brood. The pupae, they're pupating. And so they're in an incubation state. They have to be kept 92 plus degrees. So when you get them into the high or mid 80s, they will die. So lifting a frame out, if it's not warm enough, can kill up to 7,000 bees just on one deep frame that are in the incubation pupating stage. So be careful about that. Watch the temperatures. Wait until it warms up to 65 or more before you start pulling frames out. Just now, you can open a hive up to change a winter bee kind. It doesn't hurt. You can open a hive up and peek in there. Remember, they're clustered together to stay warm. They're generating heat. It's not going to hurt them if you open it up quickly, close it back up. And finally, let's talk about the population of the colony. Most people agree that you need a large colony to overwinter. Now, I know some people that say I overwintered 5-frame nukes before. I've done it myself. Yes, I don't recommend that, especially if you live in a very cold climate. It's a little tougher. Some people overwinter in single deep hive bodies. I know, I get it. But you do need between 45,000 and 65,000 bees going into winter, because you're going to lose a lot of your summer bees the first few months of winter, just aging out. And so the more bees you have, every bee is a heater bee in some way. They're going to make heat, and you need more bees to be in there. So think of it this way. A larger cluster can cover more resources and be able to move around in the hive than a smaller cluster will. So if you have a large cluster, they make more heat in the hive. They don't have to cluster as tight, and they can move around and eat more food, get to the food that they need. But a smaller cluster can't do that. They're too cold. They have to stay close together. Oh, I had a slide of a small cluster. Did I not make it? Oh, that was a great slide too. It was one of my hives one year. But anyway, it was a cluster about the size of my hand, just on top of about 2 frames. And they were still alive, but they were not going to make it. When I saw that, I was like, nope, you're not going to make it, man. So you can't go through winter with these tiny little small clusters. They have to cluster too tight, and they can't be active enough to eat and to do the necessary things that bees need to do. So that's a little bit of winter biology, by the way, and I hope you enjoyed that. By the way, speaking, let me get back in here. Speaking about our biology lessons here. Next week, we're going to be starting I'll start my teaching. We're going to start on queen rearing. Now, even if you're not raising queens, you have no interest in it, hang tight with me because I think you're going to learn a lot just from what I'm going to tell you, how bees raise their own queens and what you can do to raise queens. It's a real source of income, by the way, too. If you need a little sideline of income, that's going to help. Yeah. Hey, Ryan, thanks, Stark Lavender Fields, for your super chat tonight. You guys are always great to make donations during the live stream. So appreciate it. If you want to make a donation, but you don't want to leave it here, you can always go to our website at honeybeesonline.com. There's a place there to leave donations to the live stream. It does take a penny or two to produce a live stream. By the way, coming up, we got a couple of giveaways. One is this giveaway right here. This is the winter bee kind that Sherry and I finally made a video on how you make a winter bee kind on your own stove. And so when Sherry and I made this video, Sherry actually said to me, I'll give you a little secret. Sherry said, shouldn't we see if we can do it first? I said, Sherry, we're not going to be live. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to, scrap the footage and try again. But no, we're going to film like it's going to work, right? And lo and behold, we poured it, and it actually turned out quite nice. The mixture, I thought I was well pleased with how the mixture turned out on the stove. And we were concerned because we were making it on a electric stove, and I didn't know if it was going to be as good as we used to have a gas stove, but it worked out pretty good. So we autographed this on the video. You can watch the video a couple of days ago. Anyway, we're going to give this away tonight, so stay tuned. That's coming up. And then we have Spin the Wheel coming up. Spin the Wheel. I've added some new features to Spin the Wheel tonight too. So we're going to have fun with that. But before we do all of that stuff, let's have some time for questions and see what kind of questions are on your mind tonight. All right, Poppy, how can you tell if your hive has mice without opening it in the cold? I've done that before. I've actually worried about mice being in my hive, and I'll tell you how I do it. You can, if you have a entrance reducer on, you can take off your entrance reducer, or if you don't have one on there, you can just take a flashlight, do it at night. I found it easier at night. Take a flashlight and look on your bottom board. And you know what to look for. You can look for eyes looking back at you, or kind of the bedding, the nesting of mice. They'll make a nest on your bottom board. So you should just see dead bees on there, and you shouldn't see a bunch of twigs and grass all piled up in a corner with mice looking at you. So that's usually the way to do it. They don't so much get higher up, too high off the bottom board, a little bit, but you'll see it from the bottom board. Yep. Hey, Larry, you made a candy board the way Sherry and I did. It turned out hard. Will the bees be able to use it? Thanks for all you do, Larry. Absolutely, Larry. Good question. This is hard. Look at that. But it's not as hard as you think. In fact, what happens, and the way we make them, is so that when you put them on your colony or the hive, the colony heat, the heat of the bees and the moisture from the colony that they generate actually gets absorbed in the candy, which is a good thing. So you don't have moisture in your hive, but it makes it more edible to the bees. Yep. You'll be amazed. It's cool. Well, hello, Gary. How long can a tight cluster survive before they die? They can survive, Gary, as long as they have a food source. But the problem is they have to eat in order to generate the heat. And so it depends on if they eat all the food around them, they're going to die within several days in a very, very tight cold cluster without food. Hey, Cheryl, thanks for your super sticker. So if they run out of food, that's the problem. It really is. And I've studied this and worked with this for years. And I'm going to tell you, here's the thing. I live in Illinois, and we can get really cold sometimes. And what happens is the temperature will go like, today's a good example. Yesterday is a good example. Today is a good example. So let's say it's 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And so the bees are tightly clustered. That's a tight cluster. And they're eating food around that area. Now, when it drops to 7 degrees that night, they have to shrink tighter. And when they do, they're going they're going smaller into an area where there's even less food. The food is on the outer part of the cluster because they've already eaten so much here. So by going this way tighter, they're getting further away from where more food is. I know it's counterproductive, isn't it? But it seems like they'd want to move the cluster to where the honey is. But when it gets so cold, they can't move between the frames and all. So they just kind of tighten up. And so they run out of food. That's a problem. Yeah. Hey, Rick, thanks for sharing your recipe. Would it work to cool? Oh, would it work to cool the recipe on a metal pan and then put it in my feeding shim, which is a 1/2-inch hardware cloth? Rick, I don't know. I have no idea. I only know the way that I do it. I'm sorry. I can't really calibrate that out the way you're thinking. Cool the recipe on a metal pan, then put it in my feeding shim. Hey, it might work out fine. 1/2-inch cloth. You don't have to do 1/2-inch. Let's see, you could do 1/4-inch. Yeah, bees can still pass through 1/4-inch. Might hold the candy a little bit better. Yeah, that's a good thought. Not a bad idea. Hi, Mary Ann. How are you? 1 of 3 hives almost devoured the winter bee kind board. I like to pull and fill it, but they are clustering right on top. I'm afraid of injuring them. Should I just wait for them to move down? No, don't do that. I don't think that's a very good question. I don't think they're going to move down at all. Hey, thanks, Sally, for your donation tonight. Mary Ann, that's a very good question. And I really appreciate the fact that you're wanting not to injure your bees. But remember, if you don't feed them, they're going to be injured. They're going to die anyway. So I just try to be as kind as I can to my bees. And they're all up there. I know every time I change a winter bee kind board, there's a lot of bees up there. And I'll take my winter bee kind board off and I'll brush as many bees, smoke and brush. I'll have to pick up hard piece of the candy they didn't consume or they were still working on. And I'll just move it out of the way so I can get my other board on there. Hey, a term that I love to say, we're going to have to make Robbie, we're going to have to make an image. We don't have one now, but a cowboy up image. We're going to have to do that one day. So when it comes to this, Marianne, we got a cowboy up, cowgirl up, and you're going to have to go out there and get it done. Yeah. Don't worry about injuring. I know, just do your best and replace that food. They want that food. Good question. Danny, why is it important to put the open notch from the winter bee kind board in the front instead of the back? I'm the one that created and invented the winter bee kind board. That was the first year that I made them, we had 2 notches, one on the front, one on the back. I thought that was excessive moisture reduction. I don't think you need that much ventilation on a hive. And I stopped that after the first year, I stopped and started making only 1. And I chose to make it on the front only because, Danny, it's a good question. I don't know if there's any reasoning to my reasoning here, but I figured if the bees were like, you start getting out of winter into the spring and they're still going out of that hole. When you finally take that off, they're orientated to the front of the hive. And so they can better identify they need to go into the bottom of the entrance like they do, right? So if I had it in the back, it might be harder for them to figure out they need to go in the front. But if they're already going in the front and I take away the winter bee kind and put a top cover on, I think they could figure out they need to go lower. Yeah. I just kind of reason that out in my head. I do a lot of logical thinking, so a lot of my thoughts could be wrong. I could be illogical. Does snow on top of the hive make good insulation or should it be knocked off? Yeah. I am not an expert in this field. I have heard that snow makes good insulation. I think I learned that in grade school. You know, if you're caught and you're stranded, you could dig a hole in the snow. Hey, thanks, Wayne, for the super sticker. And that snow acts as insulation. Certainly it would act as a wind block. But I don't know about you, but I tried to make a snowball today with my bare hands to throw it at Sherry. Snow is cold. I don't like cold. And I would rather knock that snow off so a bright sunny day, the sun could hit it. But I could be wrong, but that's my theory right now. Can't wait for somebody to tell me whether that's right or wrong. And people do tell me whether I'm right or wrong. I don't have to wait too long. Do you have to cover your screen bottom board in the winter? I think probably the science behind that is right down the line. I really think I think there might be a slight advantage to covering it. But I think most people today, whether they have good reasoning or not, most people feel like they like to keep those covered in the wintertime. I mean, so I don't mind either way, to tell you the truth. Most of mine stay open. I have a few that are solid bottom boards, so they don't, I mean, I can't open them on the bottom, but a lot of mine are screen, and I'll leave it that way because the heat doesn't leave the hive through the bottom. Heat rises. So I don't worry about it too much. Yeah. But you need to do what you're comfortable with. Stick around. We got a giveaway coming up in a few minutes here. Are plastic frames stopping the heat inside the cluster, or wax frames work better since they are thinner and wax get warm faster? Oh, that is a question that has been passed around since the day I first started beekeeping. Thank you, Jack, for your super sticker. So I think most people understand that they feel like the plastic is cold. We all feel plastic as being cold. Most people feel that way. I've never studied it. I've never read a study on it. I would say it makes sense that the wax itself could be warmer. But on the other hand, if you put a piece of plastic in a 92-degree cluster, wouldn't that plastic become 92 degrees and stay that way? It's in the middle of heat. And so I think it's probably the same. But there again, I'm not sure. Hey, Tim, everybody envies you unless you're in the fire zone because you're in a beautiful place. California, 60 degrees. We have horses. There are bees coming in and all over the cedar bedding. What are they looking for? Oh, you have bees, Tim, that are starving for protein. They are looking for protein. I would buy Ultra Bee protein powder from one of the bee places, and that's what we use. And you can buy them. You can buy it from us. Actually, we sell it too. But you could put that on a board on a sunny day, one of your 60-degree sunny days. Put it on a board or a carpet or something. Don't let it get wet. Keep it dry, and let the bees find it, and they'll just go crazy getting that protein. They're looking for protein. Hey, John, can you tell if your queen is laying eggs to create winter brood if it's too cold to inspect the hive? Thanks always for helping out. From Black Dog Apiary. Nope, no way to tell if your queen's laying eggs. The only way you can tell is trusting that your queen was laying good before winter hit. And then you know that she's laying in there. And the more winter bee kinds, the more food you give them, the more they'll lay eggs. And if you just keep feeding them a winter bee kind, a winter bee kind, a winter bee kind, as they devour them, they will just lay so many eggs. It's crazy. And they take the winter bee kind food and metabolize it into wax. And if you don't replace the winter bee kind, they will fill it with wax in the middle of winter. Thanks, Alex. Wow. Appreciate your super sticker. Guys are so kind to help out tonight. Appreciate it. Andy, does the cluster have to stay with any brood until it emerges? Is this another reason they may not move to additional food? Absolutely. Good thinking, Andy. You're like me. You're a logical thinker. That brood has to be kept 92 degrees. So yeah, they're going to sit there. And in fact, I was reading some of my literature that I wrote, I think in 2008 or 2009. And I said that very thing, that they will die trying to keep the brood warm. And they will not leave that brood. That's all. Animals take care of their young. Anthony, do you have any thoughts anymore on your tree hive project? Somebody left a great comment about the tree. I've got a big stump. No, it's actually, what is it? It's a stump. It's a huge stump. I'm still finishing up my shop so that I can move it in there. I had somebody on my YouTube channel give a great way that I should use metal and everything to make that a hive. And so I'm getting some good ideas. I may just have to have some of you in the area that are good at doing stuff like that. We may just have to have a day when several of you can sign up and come out here and help me out. Oh gosh, that's funny. All right. Hey, David, have you seen any research done on OA being mixed with 1-to-1 to show any impact on viral detachment through digestion of OA? I have not. No, and I worry about that a little bit. I do remember work that Jennifer Berry did in Georgia where, well, I actually was at a talk and I remember her saying that if you're going to dribble it on bees, OA dribble, that my gosh, you got to feed them heavily first so they don't eat it. I remember her being really emphatic about that. Don't let them eat that OA. But maybe things have changed. Maybe there's more research. Can we feed bees honey with a jar instead of sugar bricks? Absolutely. It'd be far better than a sugar brick. Yep. Oh, in fact, my honeybee, I called it a honeybee kind. Everybody calls it a honeybee kind. It's a winter bee kind, but I actually put honey on mine when I put them on my hive, just a little bit. Yeah, they can eat honey fine. Hi, David. Are you a big fan of oxalic acid? I am a big fan of it, but not a crazy fan of it. Let me explain. The only thing I don't like about OA, it has to be, I think most people apply it with the vaporizer, and they're getting a little cheaper there. So I know there's more, the smaller ones, the compact ones or whatever, and they're cheaper now. But I was going to buy one last summer before the Viroxan strips came out. And that kind of, I thought, well, I'm getting OA in a different way. But yeah, it was like $500 for a vaporizer. That's what I don't like. And the other thing I don't like is it doesn't kill mites below the cap brood, where most of them, a lot of them are. So consequently, you have to treat. So the mites under the caps cycle out. I prefer other things. And I even will use Formic Pro strips. I've heard people on my channel, and I've heard other people say that OA killed their queen. Formic Pro killed my queen. Formic Pro killed my queen. I hear that so much. I've never lost a queen using Formic Pro, and I used 2 strips at one time. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I can't kill the queen with my Formic Pro strips. It may happen in the future. It hasn't happened yet. Now, a lot of times I think what's going on is if you have a weak colony and a queen that's not doing good, I think that introduction of that could be the deal breaker, that she would perish because of it. But if you got a strong queen laying good, I mean, I've made videos and we go back and check and they're great. Oh, Garden of Life. That sounds peaceful. I'd like to go there tomorrow. Hi, David. When does the queen and colony start raising brood leading into spring? Good question. Listen, this was my frustration. Historically, thank you, Mr. Joe Ellis. Historically, what happens is your bees won't start raising any brood, a significant brood, until you have your first nectar flow, which could be maple trees or dandelions way into March. And that wasn't good enough for me because my bees were getting down to 10,000 in numbers from dying out. And so that's why I started feeding them. As long as they're being fed, to answer your question, if you feed them, they will start raising brood when they start eating that food. And so I always backdate 42 days from when my dandelions, I think, are going to start blooming. And that's when I start feeding 1-to-1 sugar water. They're going to start raising brood like crazy. That brood becomes foragers. A couple of more questions and then giveaway time. Can you melt down leftover pieces of winter bee kind and reuse it? Yeah, you could. Melting down, you'd have to add water and all that. I never found that to be useful. Sometimes that's the harder part of it, and it may not be worth it. Yeah. Wow, we've almost reached, 600,000 or 600 viewers. So that's great. Okay, Michael, Monday I removed top cover on one of my hives to put on the winter bee kind board. 2 moths flew out. I had to get rid of wax moths during winter. Oh, wow. Well, those wax moths are staying warm, aren't they? Dang, that must mean your bees are in there. They must be like trying to hang out in the cluster. Let's take one more question, then we'll start our giveaway and our spin the wheel. All right. Does a queen expel everything before swarming, and does she need to remate? Expel everything before swarming, and does she need to remate? Okay, I'll answer the remate first. No. Once a queen mates and she's laying well, she'll never mate again. Nope, no way. Even if she swarms, she is not a virgin queen. So she will always be a laying queen. As far as expelling, are you talking about defecating? Are you talking about her honey crop? she will be well fed so she can fly. She's going to have to fly a distance with that swarm. So I'm not sure what you mean by expelled there. We're going to do one more question, I guess. When does the swarm season start in South Central Illinois? Being a new beekeeper, can I trap wild bees? Yeah, I have a friend, he might be on here tonight, but Lauren Kinney, he does a lot of work for me with the bees and all. He's great. He's a swarm trapper. He loves to catch swarms, trap them. Yeah, you can trap them. Southern Illinois, your swarm is going to start end of April. Last week or two in April. Mine starts the first weekend in May. Yeah. All right. Let's have a giveaway for the Winter Be Kind. All right. The way the giveaway works is it is a giveaway of a Winter Be Kind. In the comments section, for those of you that are new for the first time tonight, just leave WBK, lowercase, hashtag WBK in the comments. That's all you got to do. And our little computer dealie will just select a winner from all of you that leave that hashtag WBK. Now, if you've already bought a Winter Be Kind and you love it and you've got plenty, you just want to win something to be winning, give somebody else a chance. Come on, don't put your name in there. If you win every time, let somebody else win. But I don't care. I mean, I know you're going to do what you're going to do, but just trying to say, let's pass the love on to other people tonight. We're the live stream with heart, remember? So hashtag WBK. This will be the Winter Be Kind that Sherry and I made in the recent video. Some of you do like signatures. It embarrasses me and humbles me that you would want my signature, but I know some of you do. And so this one is autographed by both Sherry and I. Sorry we put it on upside down. This actually goes on the hive like this, and it's going to make the autographs upside down, but whatever. Yep, that's what you're going for tonight. We'll ship that out to you. So hashtag WBK, try Winter Be Kind. That's pretty cool. I'm going to share another secret. This is a secret night sharing. I have been so negligent in getting my Winter Be Kind boards on. Got a few hives that I'm worried about. I should have fed them. I'm just busy and haven't been able to get out there. I don't know. When you get older too, it's hard to get motivated to go out and throw yourself out into the wind and cold. That's so cold out there. But anyway, I got to get on it. Yeah, I made them up myself. I got a bunch out there ready, but I should have had those on there before now. All right. Hashtag WBK. It's not too late to put them on. And if your colonies are doing good on their own food, you don't have to worry. But I've got some colonies out there that they weren't great going into winter. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. Last time I checked, I had a lot of them doing really good, though, on those days where it warms up. Even the little round hive that little round hive, is still hanging on there. I'm going to be so shocked if they make it out of winter this year, because it's been brutal up here. If that little round hive makes it through winter, that's just going to be so fantastic. All right, Robbie, let's spin to see who wins tonight. The Winter Be Kind. Then we're going to do spin the wheel. All right, who's going to win tonight? John Ballard. Hey, John, congratulations. You need to email us within the next 24 hours at beaksquadwinner@gmail.com. It's going across the screen there on the bottom. Just email us so we'll know that you won. You're going to have to email us your address so we can ship that to you. And then you can tell us how awesome your bees did once you put that Winter Be Kind board on there. Look at this. Oh, there we go. Spin the wheel. Now, I added some new things on here. And we'll just see where it lands. Yeah. But I've added some fun things on here. Some of these might involve you to help with some of these. I've got one that's called, let's see. Oh, here's a fun one. If it lands on this one, I'm going to do a waggle dance. Oh my gosh. I'm going to demonstrate a waggle dance. So that's a possibility. That'll for sure clear everybody out of here. And then a rapid fire. If that lands on there, then you rapid fire questions at me. Robbie and Sherry are going to be just boom, boom, boom. I'm going to be just like, yes, no, yes. I got some bee trivia. Oh, a 30-minute Zoom call. Robert won that last week or the week before. And I called Robert, and I think he lives a little bit south of me here. But we had a great 30-minute Zoom call. I had fun talking to Robert. If you're here tonight, Robert, good to see you. A crazy bee story, tools of the trade, and here's one. If it lands here, viewer spotlight. That means I'm going to go through the comment and I'm going to pick one of you and I'm going to highlight you. Okay. We'll see how that goes. All right, let's do it. All right. Where's it going to land? I have the high hopes that it doesn't land on the waggle dance. It landed on the waggle dance? What? No way. Let me check. Oh, wow. I knew it wouldn't land on the waggle dance. I have not practiced. All right. I've got to clear the place out. Man, of all the luck, I should buy a lottery ticket. Dang. All right. Oh, by the way, a waggle dance is the bees' way of foragers coming back, scout bees coming back, and they have a waggle dance and they wiggle and then they go this way to start over again and they wiggle and then they make a figure 8. So that's my job tonight. Oh my gosh. What time is it? Are we out of time? Did the power go off? Did I lose my internet? Oh, look. I'm pretending I froze. I'm ready to do my waggle dance. I'm doing that on purpose. All right. What would you do to imitate a waggle dance? All right. Well, here's what a waggle dance is. All right, ready? They wiggle like this, and then they go around this way. Then they wiggle like this again, and then they go back around this way. And then they wiggle again like all. And they go around this way. And then, is that enough? Have I humiliated myself enough already? I'm never spinning that wheel again. We're going to erase the waggle dance off. We've already done that. Wow. All right. Oh, yeah, we lost 100 people on that one. Oh, all right. Very good. Very good. All right. We got one more giveaway. We're going to give away. Woo, you ready? Guys, we're going to give away our ultimate beekeeping online class. So if you've already purchased the online ultimate bee class, please don't go for it because you already own it. Somebody probably wants it and it's kind of expensive. So it helps somebody out that needs it to help them in the spring or something. Ultimate online beekeeping class. All you have to do is leave #class in the comments and you could win one of all the classes that I've got all together. Got to catch my breath. That's a good workout. Yeah, that's a good workout. I cycle. Whew, I thought I'd have better wind than that. I actually do. We have a 2-story house, and every day, my doctor told me once I should run up and down the stairs every day 5 times. Well, you know me, I do it 10 times, fast as I can, up and down the stairs 10 times. Man, that'll get your wind. I mean, that's a leg burner. Yeah, gotta stay in shape when you get old like me. I don't know what happened, but I'm turning 65 years old on January the 20th, which is, what is that? I don't know, 11 days from now or something. Yeah, January 20th, 65. So I'm on Medicare. Oh my gosh. What? I mean, Medicare is for old people. How did I get on Medicare? What? That is wrong. But I'm not old enough to be on Social Security yet because I'm working for a living and I get docked if you take it early. I don't know. I'm not going to do it until I get 67, but I got old, people. Yeah, I mean, a lot of you watched me get old, by the way. You watched me get old on YouTube. My first YouTube video was 17 years ago, 2008. So you've watched me get old. I'm not that old. I'm young at heart. All right. So we're trying for class, Ultimate Online Beekeeping class. Let's do it, Robbie. See who will be our lucky winner tonight. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's got the dial rolling. Here we go. I'm anxious to see who it'd be. Linda Sullivan. Well, Linda, congratulations. Yeah, Linda, I've seen you in a lot of YouTube comment, and that little red thing says you're a subscriber to my channel. Thanks for subscribing. I love to see subscribers. It's great. I think that's what that means. Yeah. Awesome. That was a lot of fun tonight. But I got time to do a couple of 3 more questions before we leave tonight. What do you got? Daniel, is it normal to have a lot of dead bees on the snow outside your hive in the wintertime in southern Vermont? Absolutely it is. Yes. Don't worry about that. Do you temporarily close off the top entrance when temperatures reach teens and below? Not on a winter bee kind, I don't. Nope. Keep firing them at me faster. Is it true nurse bees set the rules in the hive, such as selling foragers more pollen or nectar is needed? A little bit true. A little bit. Yeah, because they're feeding. They need resources. From Greece. Oh, Greece. Very good. When we place a mated queen in a hive, how long does it take until she starts laying? Oh, it doesn't take that long. She can start laying right away. Thanks, Robert. But she normally might take a day or two, and because she's been underfed while she's been shipped, she's been taken care of by some transport bees attendants, but not much. What's the best way to move your hive in the winter? Should I ratchet strap it all together? Absolutely. I'm a big fan of ratchet strap. Wrap it around the bottom board, top cover. I put a bar across the top cover and then ratchet strap the bar down, and then 2 strong people can lift up the bar and haul it like that, kind of like hauling the Ark of the Covenant or something. Steve, if your winter bee kind board turns out too hard, can you spray a little water on it, possibly soften it? Absolutely. Yes. Yes, you can do that. Does the candy fall out and crush bees? The local bee club warns about that in our damp air in Western Washington. Absolutely not. Bees are exoskeleton. The candy board is only just less than a 1/4 inch from that frame, enough where the bees can walk. They'll just move out of the way. That candy is not heavy. In winter, as bees dies and fall to the bottom board, do mites stay attached or fall off bed? Can I inspect these dead bees to examine roughly mite count? No, the mites are going to stay in the cluster in the warmth of the cluster. If all your bees die and the whole colony dies, the mites die with them. The parasites die with them. And yes, then you could count mites. Yep. Okay. Yeah, you guys, thanks, Robbie and Sherry. You're doing a great job. Donnie says, if you do see mice on the bottom board, how do you get rid of them? It's cold outside. Boy, I know it. Yeah, that's tough. Good question. Because if you try to go in there and poke at them, they'll just run up in between the frames or something. Set a mouse trap near the front with peanut butter on it. See if that'll work. I don't know. I'm being creative here. Hey, Dustin, can you reuse frames from a hive that had deformed wing virus, K-wing? Thanks. It's usually caused by virus from mites, viruses. Probably, but I might want to not do it. Yeah, that's a tough one. You might be okay. Probably would be, but I'd want to change it out probably. David, on average, how much does a deep frame of honey weigh so I can figure out how many frames of honey I need to save for their stores? I did a video last week, Carrie, not last week, last summer. And I remember Carrie was with us in Willa, and that was a video that I made with them. We weighed them. For the life of me, I can't remember. I think 7 or 8 pounds, if memory serves me correctly, 7 or 8 pounds. So that's about what it's going to take. How can you tell if a homemade winter bee kind is too hard? Don't cook it above 250. When it reaches 250, turn the heat off and pour it in a board. It won't be too hard. It's only when peanut brittle, what is that? 300 degrees or something crazy like that? It gets really hard, peanut brittle. Yeah. This has got to be the last one. We're out of time. Is there a difference or better in doing a dry mixed candy board or a wet mixed candy board, or either or better than the other? I don't know, Tammy. I do know that the way we make our winter bee kind board, it works well for bees because the heat and the moisture helps them eat and melts down the candy board so they can eat it up. Yeah, I've never tried the other, so I can't really speak to that. Yeah. All right, guys, I got to tell you, man, did I have a ball tonight. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed being here with all of you. And I am thrilled Not that numbers matter, but we had a big crowd tonight. So thank you all. I think that number is going to keep on growing as we get more into the season now. You know, beekeeping is going to get closer and closer to starting bees in the spring. For a lot of you that are new beekeepers, congratulations. I'm so happy that so many of you are new. And I want to say that I'm really working hard that I can think about what I say so that it doesn't go over new beginners' head. You know, I want to speak to those of you that are experienced to help you, but I also want to be very compassionate and gracious toward those that are new and struggling. And I'm trying to be more careful. I think sometimes I can not really be sensitive to those that are brand new and struggling. So I'm going to try to work really tough to really understand how to communicate in such a way where new beginners can grab concepts and experienced people can gain new insights. How's that? So I appreciate you guys so much. Love you. And you mean the world to me. Tomorrow, I'm going to make the green chair video. I'll be answering as many questions that I can that I didn't get to answer tonight in the green chair. So look for that video tomorrow on Friday. In the meantime, feel free to always jump into my channel, watch my videos, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you. You give me the incentive, the encouragement, and support to keep making beekeeping videos. I've done it now going on, I think, 17 years. So I appreciate you guys. So I'll say good night, and I'll see you guys in the next video.